Hi, my name is David Leip. In this episode of Talk.dance, we want to discuss COVID-19, or the coronavirus, and its impact to the social dance world. Now, things are changing very quickly on this topic, and we realize that some of the things we discuss in this episode might not be appropriate at the time you listen to this episode. So please exercise your own good judgment to keep yourself and your friends and family safe. We will include links to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control website, in the show notes, but we just urge a little bit of caution on this topic. I hope you enjoy this episode as we hope you enjoy all of them. And without further ado, welcome to Talk.dance.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Doing all right, Michelle. How are you?
Doing very well.
Pretty good, thank you. I'm excited to talk about this subject, not for the excitement, but more for the attention that it deserves a little bit. We want to talk about sort of what's going on globally with how it affects the dance community and the dance world. So we are going to definitely hear about some specific references that David has found out about from different events and such. So David, what's going on a global side? There's definitely some impact in the dance world with this whole coronavirus.
I was just going to say, we're talking about the coronavirus.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So as people are probably aware, there's some parts of the world and some parts of our listening audience that are hugely impacted because of where they live, right? If you're in China, if you're in Japan, if you're in South Korea, if you're now in Italy, all competitions, I'm sure, are now canceled. All social dances, all dance weekends or gatherings of that sort are just simply on hold until further notice. So if you're in one of those parts of the world, we wish you well, and hang in there, and we hope you can get back to dancing sometime soon. You know, clearly the coronavirus has shown up in, now I'm not sure how many countries. It's quite a large number.
I think the last I read, it's over 80.
Yeah. So you might as well say it's at this point, it's going to hit probably every country to some extent. And even in North America, there's some dance competitions that are now considering canceling their event. And we have a lot of people that are being impacted in other ways. So some industries are being very, very heavily hit. If you're associated with the airline industry, your industry is very heavily hit. If you're in the hotel industry, you're very heavily hit. You know, car rental companies, all the things that go along with travel, cruise lines. I don't know what they're going to do. You know, the Center for Disease Control has basically told all Americans, don't go on cruises.
Yeah, and you know what, the reason why this is a part of our conversation is because there's a lot of people that travel, and dance is a part of their world when they travel. So whether it's a dance cruise, or whether it's a destination or a destination wedding that has dance involved, at some point it's affecting everyone. And now we have this impact and in some cases restriction on travel. So it sort of is also trickling down right down to regular lessons and social events and dances, and whether people want to go and whether they want to be exposed. So I think that's part of where we're going to end up taking this conversation a little bit more in the social impact of how it affects you, Kelly, or you, David, at social events, or me. You know, are people going to show up to my social dance this week? I think we're relatively safe in Canada, but nonetheless, it's still sort of on everybody's mind, right?
Yeah, it's a big concern. Here in Chicago, it's not really doing anything. You know what I mean? We're right in the middle. Even though we have O'Hare, which is a huge travel hub, so far, knock on wood, it hasn't done much. But there's a couple of organizers with some events coming up that they've told me they themselves aren't worried about the virus, but they're very worried that attendance is already low because of people not traveling. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Right. So I know the company I work for in my day job, they've canceled all business travel.
Oh, wow.
My wife's company she works for a large company as well. The same is true with her company. Just that happening has put this probably more on the forefront of people's minds. Some companies like, I think Microsoft, I heard, encourage all their employees to work from home.
Yeah.
I heard this morning that one of the government, the SEC actually, has told, I think it was the first federal government agency in the US, encourage their employees to work from home. So people are more at a heightened level of alert, and in some cases might be more panicked than they really need to be. Every once in a while, I see the statistics about how many people die from the common flu every year.
Yeah.
And that figure, in comparison to the coronavirus, is so much greater. But there's so much hype and concern about the coronavirus. And I'm not trying to downplay how serious it is, but
Right.
people are worried, and people are being reminded. And I think this is a good thing, right? If regardless of whether the coronavirus is a thing or not, if you're not feeling well, don't go into work. Don't go into maybe you can go to the group class or go to the social, right? Because there's, you don't have to be the hero and show up about, how I'm soldiering on, even though I'm sick and infecting other people, even with the common flu.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the concern, just in general, aside from the coronavirus, obviously getting lots of attention, is that we're in a very close proximity. We're in each other's bubble, and there's space that we share. And, regardless of this being a prominent concern on a health side, if you have a cold or a flu or anything, you are sharing that in that person's space, whoever it may be, in any level. So regardless of what the bug is, we still need to take a moment and let's talk about some hygiene on the dance floor, because that is a really great way to sort of bridge in. We need to calm everybody down. Don't be panicked and feel like you need to shut your world out and lock yourself up. But if you are going out, let's make sure you're healthy, and let's do some standard things. Hey, hand sanitizer, wash your hands, make sure that you have Kleenex and all of these things that you should regularly be using anyway. We're just we have a catalyst now to talk about why we need to be a little bit more vigilant.
Yeah, I remember years ago when I first started dancing, I've always been worried about that. So I've always washed my hands, like all that stuff. So it's not anything new to me. So I was always surprised that when I first started dancing and getting to know people, how much people talk. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, well, so-and-so who's a follow, their leader would come back and tell them which, at that time, guys, right? Because a guy goes in the guy's bathroom, they'd be like, that guy doesn't wash his hands after he goes to the bathroom, don't dance with him.
Oh.
And it's like, and that wasn't a huge, there wasn't a lot of that, but like, then I was introduced to that and I was like, oh, that's a thing. Why are people not washing their hands?
Oh, Kelly, that's the first time I've heard that. I'm kind of glad you're bringing that up. That's disturbing.
Yeah. So now I'll be like, now I'll say something like, or I'll mess with people, I'll be like, oh, you're not washing your hands or whatever, or blah, blah, blah. But I will let people know, like if somebody's in the bathroom and they didn't wash their hands, if I know somebody else who, like somebody I regularly dance with, I'd be like, well, just so you know, sanitize after dancing with them or him or whatever. So it's just weird to me because it's pandemic because it travels so quickly, right? And that's what everyone's so scared about. But in my brain, it's kind of like common sense, because in my brain, you want to wash your hands, and hand sanitizer is great, but I go to the bathroom and I change my shirts when I dance, right? Yeah. Because I want to be dry. And even if I use a restroom or not, I still wash my hands, because you still need to cycle that cleanliness into that petri dish of social dancing, you know what I mean? So it's very interesting.
So that is sort of, to me, a little bit more of where we can direct this, because of course everyone is going to be careful and we wish everyone well. But we do want to highlight a couple of these things, like what can I do to make it safer and better for you, or if I'm dancing with you or whoever it may be. I want to make sure that I have all of those things on a hygiene side, which, David, I always think of you because whenever you come to the studio, you have your wonderful dance bag, and your dance bag is just like you said, Kelly, there's a spare shirt or two. for those times that you get a little bit too worked up and you're sweaty. There's also deodorant and a toothbrush and maybe some mints and some hand sanitizer. But washing your hands and doing these really basic things. Hopefully everyone had a little bit of that upbringing where we wash our hands. But like Kelly said, apparently there's some that don't. That's really what we're addressing, is just a little bit of the hygiene side of this in the light of trying to be preventive when it comes to things, whether it be a cold or flu or even this coronavirus.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I've seen some of the studios in the New York area have started putting out like the Purell dispensers. And so if you have access to that, you know, use it, even if you don't think you need it. Just the perception is helpful, right? Your dance partners might be concerned. If you're someone who sometimes, like myself, will go to an event as a dance ambassador, which means I'm going to be dancing with a lot of partners, I can even be reassuring my partners that by them seeing me using the disinfectant, right? Because, you know, things can get around and people are concerned. But I think for the most part in North America, you know, just a couple common sense kinds of things like staying at home if you're not feeling well can go a long way. We don't need to panic. And, you know, one of the nice things is, even though this is impacting people financially, especially in certain industries, and that can be a concern. It can be a concern sometimes for people taking lessons and stuff. But for social dancing, one of the great things about social dancing generally is it's one of the cheapest social activities that people have access to. And we know that something like this can be an impact to the dance industry in general. I'm sure that in some cases, the number of lessons are down just because people are being maybe more mindful about not coming in because they're feeling a little bit off or so forth. If you're feeling well, maybe keep that in mind. If there's a community that you want to support, we did an earlier episode, Kelly, you and I, about supporting the dance community, and that was before the coronavirus. But keep that in mind if you're kind of concerned about the health of the local dance community. I don't mean their physical health, but just them being able to sustain themselves. This is actually a good time to go out and support the event if you're able to, right? If you're feeling well, don't let something like this take down your favorite event, right?
Yeah.
Because one of you, we're talking about attendance being down at certain events.
Yeah.
And for regular recurring events, sometimes this could be a straw that could break a camel's back, so to speak, right? So if there's that bi-weekly event, that monthly event, that weekly event, and suddenly attendance starts going down, you know, the event could just stop happening, right? So if you're able to, you know, do your part and get out and support the event, but if you're feeling off, please stay home until you're feeling better.
Yeah, and to double back on something you said, using Purell and hand sanitizers is good. It's not a bad thing, but you also want to regularly wash your hands, because that is getting the dead germs off of your skin. Purell kills the germs, but it's really still keeping the germs on your hands, the dead germs. So it's good to Purell regularly, but it's good to cycle that full kind of nuclear option of wash the hands and get everything off of your hands. So that's something you want to keep in mind that you don't think about when you're out social dancing, right? Especially if the social dance here in Chicago, a lot of the social dances are at bars. So you're having a drink, you're talking to friends, you dance, you come back, you talk to friends, you're like, oh, this and that, and there's a lot going on. A couple hours go by, you don't even realize I didn't have to go to the bathroom, so I never washed my hands. Right.
Yeah, you danced with maybe 10 or 15 people, and then you went and grabbed your drink. And
and it just, and that's how pathogens spread, right? So even if you don't have to use the restroom, you know, and even if it's an hour dance, wash your hands at the beginning, wash your hands at the end, maybe even once in between. Like I said, I change my shirts a decent amount, so I'm washing my hands somewhat regularly throughout, you know, any dancing I go to. So all good ideas.
Absolutely. So is there any other area in this connection of our dance circle that we need to tap into? We've talked about hygiene, of course, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the unfortunate impact on a competition or attendance or travel. I feel terrible for these dance cruises that, you know, I don't know if you guys know Brian B., who puts together these awesome dance cruises, which I actually contemplated going on this recent one, just left on March 1st. You wonder about the attendance or what's happening on the cruises. David had mentioned, you know, CDC is basic. Is it CDC? Is that the acronym?
Yeah. The Center for Disease Control
is basically saying, no travel on a cruise. And, you know, how awful for not only the companies, but for the affiliate businesses like Brian or whoever else might be wanting to put together these awesome little trips that are very dance related. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden, all of those are taking a major hit and a major impact.
Right. Well, and I'm going to a dance weekend in 2 or 3 weeks, and it's usually a pretty big event. And I'm actually curious what attendance is going to be like. Mm-hmm. I know in some parts of our community, there is a larger number of older people, just because, you know, sometimes they have more time. They're retired. If you're above a certain age, you know, the recommendations are to be even more careful. Level of fitness probably isn't quite as high anymore. Your resilience to certain kinds of bugs. So this could be a fairly hard hit financially to some of these events, and I really hope that they can go on and get through this. Hopefully this is not something we're going to be living with for a very long period of time, but probably for a couple of months. We're going to be very concerned about coronavirus, and we all hope, I think, all three of us, that our dance communities, our local dance communities, can survive the coronavirus unscathed, right? Unscathed in terms of our physical health, but also just the financial well-being and resilience of the events that we all enjoy.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I received in my inbox just the other day was an email from one of the local dance studios, local to where I live. And I thought they did a really nice job of just addressing people's concerns and giving them some tips and advice for when they come to that particular studio. And I'm aware that some of the people listening, many of the people listening are just social dancers attending events, but I know we have some venue owners and business owners that listen to our podcast as well. And so I want to share this. I'm just actually going to read off this email quickly. And so it says, "Dear dance community, as most of you are aware, there are growing concerns about the potential spread of the coronavirus. Vidi's Dance Studio," this is from Vidi's, "is committed to supporting your health and well-being and is dedicated to providing a safe experience to everyone who walks through our doors. In an effort to keep our students, teachers, friends, and family healthy and prevent the spread of germs, we want you to know that we are taking extra precautions to keep our community safe, which will include increasing our sanitation and disinfecting efforts at the studio on a daily basis. Hand sanitizer is available at the studio for all guests to use. In addition, we are encouraging everyone to do their part to help support a healthy community and are requesting the following. 1, everyone is being asked to wash your hands both before and after any classes/lessons. Hand washing remains one of the most effective methods of preventing the spread of germs. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after going to the bathroom, blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. 2, stay home when you are sick until you have been free of symptoms for 24 hours. We will still be here when you are recovered. 3, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. And 4, cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue and then throw the tissue in the trash. And then it goes on to just kind of reference the CDC website. Mm-hmm. I thought this was a very nice, short, concise note, just reminding people that, 1, they are taking extra precautions at their studio to keep surfaces and whatnot clean. They're doing that on a daily basis, and reminding people of the steps they should personally take to ensure the health of everyone attending either events or lessons or what have you. So I encourage others who are running studios or heading a community to do something similar. Many people wouldn't have seen this note or a similar one yet, and so it's a good way to reassure your community that you can be safe, and there's some simple things that everyone can do to help protect everyone.
Absolutely.
So with that, we wish you all well, and keep dancing and stay safe.
Keep calm and dance on, right? Like, let's keep it simple. Keep clean, wash your hands, have fun, go to your social events, and don't stress about it, right? Like, we just kind of want to finish with the high note of making sure that people understand that we're bringing this up because we appreciate the impact in the world of dance, but at the same time, keep dancing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.